Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, Ellen. Good to see you. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Good to have you here. Hi, Angela. Good to have you here. Hello, Joan. You know, what you need to do right now, Ellen, is just hold off on doing that because we are making some changes. So just hold off on that. When we get everything set up, then of course I'll make an announcement and we'll get it back going again. So for now, the live streaming is the best. Don't you love white pens? Don't you love white pens? Hey, Sharon, good to see you. Sometimes I think they are just pointless to keep around. But we all love a white pen, don't we? Yeah, all right, that one works. And why do I keep the ones that don't work? That is the $64,000 question. Why do we keep the ones that don't work? Anyway, it's good to have you guys here. Hi, Terry. Hello, Peggy. Good to have everybody joining me. Just trying to get my white pens to cooperate here. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Really, it's the truth of the matter. So, okay. Good to have you here, everybody. Everybody. So how's your week? My week has gone well. I hope yours has too. I hope it has too. Hello, do I pronounce it Amalia? Is that the right pronunciation? I'd like to say your name correctly. It seems like that's what I've heard. Amalia? Anyway, I'm glad you're here, everybody. So we are going to get started. How about that? And we'll yap along as we get going. Yes, that's right. Oh, good job. Hello, Quilted Jewels. Susan? I'm guessing. You know, as I always say, I've slept since the last time we talked. So, anyhow. Okay. What did I want to do first? I think we might do a couple of things today. Let me see. Do I want to do this? No. We'll do that another day. Let's go right back to the notebook cover that we were doing the other day. So we're going to go, sorry, I was just watching the chat. We are going to go to this notebook cover that I was doing, and we're going to play with that. I don't know how I got some schmutz on here down at the bottom, but I don't even know what that came from. It may have come from hand lotion. I don't know what it came from. Anyway, we'll try and cover it up. We'll try and cover it up. Hey, Linda and Tim. Hello, hello, hello. Good to have you here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, first of all, we did this last, I don't know, a week ago maybe? Was it a week ago? It might have been. And I suggested that you just look online, do Google images for stacked cups or stacked teacups, and you'll come up with something, and then just make a line drawing. Um, there's no point in me doing a download for this because there are all kinds of these images everywhere. The fun of this comes when you just start decorating the cups. So just as a means of review, I used a tracing that I had, a tracing of the cups, which was this. Okay, so this was my, this way. This was my tracing, which I know is difficult for you to see. If I put it on here like this, maybe it'll make sense. And then I put a piece of graphite paper underneath it and traced through the tracing paper to get my outlines of my cups. Then I went over them with a black, no, not black. I went over them with a sepia color, that's what this is, sepia, which is almost black, but it's actually brown. And I went over it with that. And then I just decorated the cups, the different patterns for the cups. Okay. And I finished filling in the checkerboard cup up here. It's good if you have a contrast between black and white. This one is kind of sticking out, so we may have to do a little bit to that to kind of make it go a little bit more with the rest of them. But what I want to do is come down here at the bottom, and I want to give myself a ground. And I think we'll go about like so. I'm just going to give myself, with a ruler, the grounding area like a table. Like a tabletop, so that we have a place to put our tablecloth, okay? Because we're going to draw a lace tablecloth. It is a really fun. Hey, how are you? From New Zealand. I'm so glad you're here. I know your name, but I can't recall it right offhand. So fill me in. Put me out of my misery. Please put me out of my misery. So we're going to do this as our tablecloth. And so I'm going to show you kind of the process for the tablecloth. Okay. A lace tablecloth is what we're going to do. Hey, Linda Patrick. If I miss, hey, Warner's Grin, Jessica, hello. If I miss saying hello to you, or if I miss your question, don't be hesitant to ask me again, okay? All right. Hello. Linen Crafting. I'm not sure your name, but welcome, welcome. Lana, is it Lana? Lana, Lana, I'm assuming. That's not Lena, is it? Anyway, you guys can tell me. Okay, so what you need to do this is you need 2 different size white pens. And you can do any number. It's Lynn, okay. You can do any number of different lace patterns. If you look online and you find a lace pattern, you can just mimic the lace pattern. I'm pretty sure it's Lynn. Okay, hi Lynn. I'm pretty sure that that's what I did in the original cover that I did. This was one I did a long time ago. That was a big stack of cups. And so this lace pattern down here, I'm sure that's what I did. Just looked online and found something. You could also mimic a lace tablecloth that you might have, or what have you, okay? You do crafting and journaling and DIY videos. All right, cool. That's great. Friday. So this pen I have not used. I just opened it up and got it going. This is a Pen Touch 0.7 extra fine point. Okay, I thought, well, we'll try it on this and just see. If we don't like it, I'll do something different. But I just got it going. So over here. So it's got a really nice white line at the moment. And it's working at the moment. White lines or white pens are notorious for going bonkers. Working when you first open them up and then they stop. And sometimes you can get them going again, sometimes you can't. So you just kind of have to work with them. You just kind of work with them. Lynn DIYs her own bookmarks and cosplay stuff for her costume. Ah, cool. Very good. All right, so the way I start this is I pick a spot in my design and I draw a flower design. Okay, so here's, like, for example, the center of the flower. This is kind of a riff on a rose kind of thing. And it's going to look drawn. It's not going to look stitched. So don't stress over that too much. Okay? So we have a center, and then we have the first row of rounded petals. They're not necessarily all the same. Don't worry about that. It's okay. And then I put in a second row of petals that straddle the first row. And when you get over here to the end, if you don't have the right number of petals, fudge it. Just fudge it. It's okay. All right? And that is really as hard as the flower part of it is. Then you want to put in a leaf someplace, and it's just one of those fat little chunky leaves. And I put in a vein. Okay, just a vein. If you wanted to put in 2 leaves, you certainly could. It is completely up to you. And then pick another spot away from your leaf that you put in like a scroll. Okay, like that. That's it. Then you go and find another spot and you make another flower. Now let's say that you're at the edge of your book, for example. So let's say, we'll turn it this way. Let's say that our artwork is up there. Okay, that's our cups. Okay, so our cups are up there. So we have this flower design down here, and you really want to have some of these designs go off the edge of your book. So for example, and they don't all need to be the same size. So let's say this is the center of the next flower, and we're going to put in that first row of loopy petals, and then we're going to put in the next row of bigger petals. Let it go off the page, and then you can decide where you want to put your leaf. Let's say this time I'm going to put it over here. And then put in your scroll wherever it is you want to put it. But you have it running off the page. And so you want to do the same thing on all the edges of your tablecloth area. So this is your major motif. So put in your biggest motif, and you can see how very simple that is. Put in your biggest motif first, but you can vary the sizes of the big motifs. Let's say that we want to put one more up here, off center, and I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of a center. We're going to do this on the actual book cover here in a second. I'm just showing you the process, and also just kind of getting my hand and my brain around it. And let's say you want to put the leaf. Let's say you want to put the leaf over, coming in like this, and your scroll maybe going over here. And you can do more if you want, but this is what I'm going to do, okay? So I put in the big motifs, but don't crowd it too much because we also want some little additional motif type things. And so for those, I just do a circle and then do like a 4-petal flower. But I'm doing these in the heavier pen, okay? All of this so far is in the heavier pen. And you also can have these heading off the edge. But don't let them get too big because you want to keep those as your kind of secondary motif things. And have sort of an even flow of your patterns. An even flow of big patterns, not necessarily an even number, but an even flow. So you have some, like I would put another one over here, and you have these, and then I might put another full one here, and then maybe another partial one there, a partial one there, okay? And then filling in some of these little smaller flowers. All right. Then you need another white pen that is smaller. The tip needs to be smaller. And you need to make sure that it's working. This is the Jelly Roll pen, and this happens to be size 08. All right, so we have all of our big motifs in here to begin with. And then you're going to take, and this is, don't be too hard on yourself when you do this, okay? By that, I mean, give yourself some grace. You are not stitching this. You are not a machine. You are drawing this. And some of these spaces are pretty long, so if your line gets a little wavy, a little wonky, don't worry about it. But we're just going to pick a spot, and so I'm going to pick a spot like right here. Okay, and I'm just going to do a diagonal line, and then I'm going to come about 1/8 of an inch away. Another, and you can see they're not necessarily even, like this. This is good practice for drawing lines close together. But you kind of have to be okay with whatever happens. And stop up here at the edge of your tablecloth. That's why I drew that line on my book cover. Ooh, I'm getting really a little wonky here. That's why it's good to kind of warm up on something else, but not necessary if you don't want to. Okay, so let's say that we have all of that in. And now I'm going to go the other direction, and so I'm just going to turn my paper because it's easier for me to do that. And I'm going to sort of decide what angle I want to do. I'm going to go here. But I do all the lines going one direction and then come back and do the lines go in the other direction. Make sure that you skip over your big motifs because we want them to stand out. Okay, so you get the idea, and those are the connecting threads that connect the motifs together to create the lace. kind of like so. Okay. So you definitely want, for this background, these background thread work, you want that to be a lighter weight pen, lighter in weight than this. This needs to be thicker, so this needs to be a lighter weight pen. And also you could even go to a really light gray Jelly Roll pen if you wanted to do that. All right, so that is how that's going to go. And then you can come back if you want to add more to these flowers, which I did. So I put in a spiral for the center. And you can do that either with the Jelly Roll pen, or you could do that with the pen that you drew the flowers in to start with. And if you want to add more to your leaves, you can. %, your lace, your call. I'm not trying to mimic somebody else's lace pattern. I'm making up what I want to. And then if you want to come back, if these scrolls are not showing up enough, you can always come back and go over them again. All right, so that's how you do a lace. You do your motifs first, and then you come back and fill in the connecting threads after that. Okay. Yeah, so the large motifs really don't touch each other. No, they are spread around. If you look at this example, they're not really touching each other. If they do, it was pretty much an accident. But you get it's the contrast between the white and the craft and the pen, the width and weight of the pen lines is how you get that kind of lacy look. And it's when you get it away from you that you really see the effect of lace. Hello, Dana. Okay. All right. So let's see what we can do on the real deal. And then we'll go back if we want to and do a little bit up here on this. Okay. These pens like this that have a ball in them, be sure that you shake them. If you don't, you're not going to be happy, because the pigment and the binder will separate from each other, and then it doesn't look the way you want it to. Hi, Dorothy. All right, I always have something around to test my pens on, because I find that if I don't, I'm not going to be happy at all. Now, if you wanted to use a Posca pen, like this one, or like this one, those are two different tip widths and types. That is perfectly fine as well. I just thought I would try this Pen Touch because I hadn't used it before. I cracked it open today. All right, so let's come down here. And since I have some hand lotion on my hand, I'm going to have a hand rest here and try to keep my hand on it. Okay, so here we go. So what we're going to do is we are going to add the big motifs to start with. So I'm going to pick one kind of over here in the corner that I'm going to make my kind of my biggest one, or one of the bigger ones, let's say. Let's put it right here. So we're going to do small round petals to begin with. They do not have to be meticulously drawn, okay? Then we're going to go to the second row. We're going to go from the middle of one petal to the middle of another petal. And these are bigger petals than the first row, like so. And then and if you wanted to, you can do even another row of petals. It's totally and completely up to you. And so let's, just for grins, let's do that. So in this one I have 3. And then I'm going to find a spot where I want to do my leaf. And so I'm going to do my leaf right here. And put in a vein. And then I'm going to find another spot and if you want to do 2 scrolls, knock yourself out. It is your design, so you do it the way you want. So let's put another one here. Okay, it is just fine. Whatever you do is going to be fine. All right, let's do another. Sorry. Let's do another one like the cup is sitting on it, and so we're gonna just have a little bit of the center sticking out, and then that first row of small petals and then a leaf, and let's say this leaf is over here like so. And a scroll maybe right there. Okay, so we got that one. And I'm going to put another one off the page, off-centered and off the page down here. So there's my center. In the next row, and a leaf that might be like so, and a scroll that maybe comes this way. Okay, and then we'll come on over, and as I said earlier, I don't know what this is. It must have been something that was on my hand when I was resting on the notebook, so we're gonna just pretend that's not even there, and I'm gonna do a center there. And a leaf that perhaps comes like that, and a scroll that comes like that. And then let's do I'm going to make a smaller, this same design but smaller. Okay, this one only has a row of 5 petals, so you'll see we're going to have to fudge what happens. So I just kind of had to fudge it just a little bit because it was a little wonky. And then we're going to put in a leaf like so. And a scroll like that. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 big motifs, and so I think I'll put in a couple more heading off the notebook, so maybe one right here. And then a leaf that perhaps goes like this. And a scroll right there. So now we have 6 designs, and we really, it's going to be more comfortable to look at if you have an odd number of these bigger designs. So let's put one more up here. And maybe we'll do another row of those petals, and then okay, so we have 7 motifs. And we're going to do some of the smaller ones, the little flowers. And so I'm going to put some of those in here. So those are just a little center and little 4 petals. Okay, so just little ones. Okay, and then another one like so. The less the less you think about this, the better they come out, I think. All right. And then, I'm sorry, I am absolutely fine. I gotta tell you, I'm 100% fine until I start talking to you guys and then my throat goes crazy. I'm gonna go get some water. I will be right back, okay? Hang tough. All right, let's see if the water does the magic. Does a magic trick. Retro Queen Bee. I'm not sure I know who you are, but welcome. Oh, and Dorothy's here. Okay, Dorothy sent me her gnomes that she did. So I thought I would show those to you. So this is one she did. That's our Dorothy who's in the chat. And look at these. These are just too cute. Look at these. Those are stitched, you guys. Aren't those cute? So cute. Look at those. Aren't they sweet? So those were the designs that I drew and put up for everybody to download if you wanted to. So they're so cute. And this was another one that Angela, and I think it's the Angela, you can tell me. I think it's the Angela that's in the chat, did this drawing and sent it to me. I thought that was great. Beautiful. If this isn't the Angela that's in chat, you'll have to tell me. Yeah, Dorothy, they're great. Isn't that pretty? Yeah. So, yes, that's the Angela, the ARH that's in the chat. Okay, so I'm glad I thought of that. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and I'm going to put the spiral type design in my big flowers, in the centers. And this one is too tiny. So I'm just going to kind of sort of color it in. And this center is also too tiny, so I'm just going to put a white dot in there. But this one I can do. Okay. And these little guys, I'm just going to put a little white dot in the center of those. Okay, so we have some little decoration, additional things going on in some of the flower centers. And now I'm going to come back with my lighter weight pen. This is an 08 Jelly Roll pen. And now we're going to start doing the connecting thread work. And so I need to decide where it is I want to start. It really does not matter where you start. You can start in a corner and work across, or start in the middle and work to each side. It really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to pick a spot. But what you want to do is to avoid your bigger motifs, okay? And I try to keep as consistent a width between the threads, in quotes, as I can, but you know, sometimes I'm not great at that. It's hand drawn. And sometimes this works out better if you don't talk when you're doing it. so you can kind of concentrate. And also, when you are drawing with a jelly roll, basically any of these gel pens, it works better if you don't try to go too fast. Okay. Now, just like in drawing a mandala, it helps if you keep your eye moving just ahead of the line instead of let's see, how do I describe this? Instead of keeping my eye right where the pen tip is, because that can lead me astray if I'm only looking where the pen is writing. If I'm only looking there where the pen is writing, sometimes my line is going to get wavier and squigglier. And the other thing is, it's pretty easy to miss the fact that you've got something coming up, like that petal that you wanted to go around. If your eye is moving, is looking slightly ahead of where you're going, and this takes practice to do this, but if you're looking slightly ahead of where you're drawing, then you won't miss the items that you're trying to draw around. And it also will help you stop where you want to stop. So that is what I suggest that you do, is look ahead of where you're drawing. Takes a little practice. So what you're drawing, what I am drawing in here are the connecting threads between the motifs in a lace design. It is helpful if you can concentrate. And sometimes if I have too much space, I'll just stick in another line, even though it doesn't connect to anything else. All right, then I'm going to turn this around. And I'm going to put my hand on a piece of paper because I'm pretty sure I've got some stuff on my hand that would leave those marks like it did over there. And if your angle gets off a little bit, you know, it's not exactly the same all the way across, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's just a little piece. It's just a little notebook cover or a piece of paper that you're drawing on. But it really helps if you have a contrast in the line width. So my motifs are thicker, and in a perfect world they would be whiter than the background threads. My hand is not as steady as it used to be, but you know, well, and here's a mistake because I was drawing right through the middle of those petals, so we're going to pretend we didn't see that. That's what happens when you don't pay attention to what you're doing. But perhaps the lace maker made that mistake too. I'm just going to go ahead and lay these lines across here. Some people, that would destroy the whole artwork for them. And if it does, that is not, you know, that's unfortunate that it would destroy that for you. But your other option, I will show you here in a minute, if I can remember, to change that a little bit. Okay, so we want to go the other direction. So we've got one direction of threads. We want to go the other way. So I'm going to pick a place. For whatever reason, I find it easiest to start in the middle. The pressure on the pen is very light and slow, so that it gives the ink time to flow out of the tip of the pen. And if the angle is not exactly the same all the way across, I'm not going to sweat it. Again, look ahead of where you're drawing. That gives you a better chance at not drawing through a petal or a leaf. So this is like creating the netting, that is the support in a piece of lace. And you can always come back and go over your big motifs again with your white paint pen. And sometimes I have to change the angle of things so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, so do you see how this section, how that when you get all of those little cross hatching lines in, it makes those central motifs really begin to then pop forward. Okay, let me find, I will finish this later because that is boring as I'll get out for you guys to watch. Let me find a pencil here and see if we can do the correction a little bit. Let's see if I've got a pencil in this bag of colored pencils to see if we can kind of color match that a little bit. It's metallic, so we can't use that. That's a lavender. Okay, not in that group. Let me try again. Okay, let's look at these two pencils here. This is about the same color, so let's see. Okay, let's go with this one. The white pen is kind of acting as a resist, and so it's not going to let me change that a whole lot. So I'm probably just stuck with having a little extra detail there. So if it's not going to let me change it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing on this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and that one. And then I'm going to make it a design opportunity. Instead of getting wigged out with, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. So you just change it into something else, okay? And then I'm going to use my white gel pen that I was doing the lace, the connecting threads with, and I'm going to put some threads in here for my leaf, but I'm going to try just doing half the leaf, one half, and not both halves, to see if I like it. I can always go back and do both halves. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the heavier lined white pen. And emphasize the scroll. Again. As though it were heavier thread. Okay. And then of course as that dries down, it's going to change, the color will change a little bit, but having that contrast in line with and the white, the whiteness of the white can make a difference too. And I can also come back and re-outline the leaves and, you know, maybe the outer line of the petals of the big motifs or whatever. And you just play back and forth till you get what you like. Hello, Alicia. Hi, Barbara Clark. Good to have you here. So. Okay, and so there is that, and then I will carry that on across to finish, because you can see what a big difference there is between this and this. I love a nice lace tablecloth. Not that I use them, but I like them. So we have that. Okay. I'm going to come back up to this cup because it is so very black and white, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give myself, we'll go this way so I don't get my hands in the lace work down there, and I'm going to just put a small dot in the black squares. And this is the kind of thing that you can play with, and it doesn't matter, especially if it's on a book cover, you know, notebook cover like this. It doesn't matter what you do. No mistakes, only opportunities. Okay. And I like that better. Okay, now, what else did I want to do? Just adding some other little patterning to this cup handle. Now, would I go in and buy this cup pattern with all this busyness on it? Probably not. But I surely don't mind having it on my notebook cover. So just having some busy work there. And then let's again, just adding a little bit. Just adding a little bit of something into that. And then it seems like perhaps we should I'm looking at my pens that are scattered around on my desk. Okay. Yes. I have some black, this is a black charcoal pencil. And I'm going to add a little black charcoal underneath the cup. and then use a blending stump to soften that and blend it out. Kind of create the shadow from the cup on the saucer, so the saucer doesn't look quite so flat and bland. Maybe it'll give it a little more interest. Okay, like so. And then I will do something similar once this tablecloth is all done. We'll do something similar there. But for right now, let's put a little bit of this on the cup that is inside. And also where the handle, just a little bit, where the handle kind of goes behind the cup a little bit. Part of it I've drawn so it goes behind the cup. Part of it I've drawn like it's on top of the cup. So I'm working on the part that is behind. And because we could have this little piece of this cup could be thicker than the body of the cup, so this could have a little bit of shadow under it. So, you know, just because I want to, and make it a little different than the other one I drew, we're going to do that. We're going to put a little bit of shadow around there, just so it was like it had some thickness, like this had it had a rim up here. So we're going to put a little bit of that, like so, okay? And tiniest little bit of charcoal on the cup at the edge, tiny bit. And down here, same thing, tiny little bit of charcoal on the edge. I mean, I'm barely touching it. And I'm going to put a little bit, same thing, little tiny bit under that rim that I drew on the cup. Okay, tiny bit. All right. And now it's just like you're coloring with this blending stump. I prefer these over the tortillons or tortillions, depending on how you say it. I prefer these because these are compressed paper as opposed to wound, a strip of paper that's wound up. Some people like the ones that are wound up, and that's perfectly fine. Just, we all develop our preferences. And what this is going to do is just give a little bit of dimension to your cups. And you know, we can take this as far as we want to. I'm not gonna go off the rails doing this. And to clean your blending stump, you can just have a piece of paper like this. If it was really cruddy, if you had a piece of sandpaper, you can use a piece of sandpaper to clean it. Don't use anything wet. It has to be a dry sort of cleaning situation. And be careful that if the shading is on the cup, like this is on the cup that's on the inside, that you don't take that shading on top of the cup below, because if you do, that totally will obscure the effect of making one cup fit inside the other. The shading is what helps it look like it is nested inside the cup below it. Hopefully that makes sense. So keep the shading where you put it. Don't let it cross lines unless you specifically decided that that's what you wanted to do. Okay? Okay, so there's that cup. Hello, Purple Nana. Bye, Joan. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit. Okay, let's go on up to the next cup here. So again, this cup is inside that one. So the shading is going to go on the one that's inside. Not much. Charcoal, this is a 6B soft charcoal pencil. And so when it's soft, that means exactly what it says. It comes off easily, and it will deposit a lot of charcoal very quickly. So if you're not careful, you could turn your entire cup one shade of gray. I don't want to do that. And so therefore, I am controlling as carefully as I can the amount of charcoal I put down. So I can always add more, but it's hard to take it away. Okay, so I'm just going to go real lightly. And again, I'm going to put just the tiniest little bit under the rim that I drew on this teacup, and a little bit down each side. Okay, and I put a little bit on the handle that looks like it's behind the cup a little bit. And then we're going to come back, and just in little circles I'm going to blend that out. Now the charcoal will continue to come off. It will continue to move around just like pastel. It will continue to move around on your surface. So if you want this, once you're happy with how it looks, if you want that to stay put, want that charcoal to stay put, you're going to have to spray it with a fixative or matte finish or something so that it will keep that charcoal in place. Otherwise, it will continue to move, come off on your fingers. It'll come off on whatever else you put on top of it. So yeah, you want to be a little aware of that. I'm going to put a little tiny bit here on the outer edges of the rim, just a little bit. That just helps to give the illusion that that cup is three-dimensional and not flat. So just a little bit, tiniest bit out there. Okay, this is very rudimentary shading we're doing here. Very. All right, on this one, this is a funny little handle because this is like thick up here at the top. So I'm going to put a little bit of shading on that thickness at the top, and I'm going to put just the tiniest little bit of shading where that handle hooks on, because this handle's a little different than the other ones. It has some thickness to it. And because this has a lot of white on it, I'm going to be a little careful that I don't get wild with my shading and put down too much, because I don't want to turn it all gray. And then I'm going to come across where this cup sits inside the one below it. Again, not much, because I don't want to obscure all my pretty little white motifs that I drew on there. And then a tiny little bit on each end of my rim of my cup. Okay, and then I'm going to clean this off on a piece of paper, get rid of the excess, and then come in and blend my little shading areas. And I find it easiest to just do little circles, but it's within the item. If you straddle the line, like the edge line of your cup, it's going to put shading on the background, and I don't think you'll like that so much, because it kind of makes everything a little bit blurry, and it's just not as attractive that way. And I'm very lightly blending. And this is just craft cardstock, and so it grabs that charcoal pretty well. It grabs onto that charcoal. That doesn't mean it's there forever and ever, amen. So, like I said, you'll need to fix it with something if you want it to stay put. Okay, and then we're going to come under the rim just a little bit. It's pretty magic what shading can do as far as achieving dimension, adding dimension to things. Okay, we got one more cup to do up here. And I'm going to go down the sides of the cup. Like so. And in this case, I'm going to go up the tiniest little bit around the handles where they attach to the cup. This one does not have a rim on it, but it does nestle inside the cup below it, so we can put a little bit of shading on the cup that's on the inside where it touches the one that it's sitting within. Okay, like so. And then again, I'm cleaning off my blending stump. And then just blending it into the background. When you're blending shading, you don't want to see any harsh lines. And shading does not turn sharp corners. It is either a crescent or a triangle, but it's soft on the inner edge. Unless you had extremely harsh lighting, it's going to be a really soft edge. Like so. Okay. And just because I want to, not because there's a rim there, I'm going to put just a tiny little bit up here on this upper edge. That's just because I want to. That is not for any reason other than choice. No logic, just interest and choice. Okay. Like so. There's the shading for our cups. We could go further, but we're not going to. But we could if we wanted to. And then, I don't know, because I just kind of really like this appearance of the white. just because I want to try it. I'm going to use white. This is white charcoal. This is Chinese. Oh, it's or Derwent drawing pencil, but I think it's charcoal. Let's see. Yeah, doesn't look like it, actually. I thought I had a charcoal. Let me look. Hold on just a second. Be right back. This may be white charcoal. Let's see if it is. It's kind of an oxymoron. Maybe. It may be something else. But anyway, let's just play with this. I mean, it's a book cover. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. All right. I just want to see. What will happen if we put a little bit of this white charcoal out here in the outer edges. Sorry, I'm just sort of lost in my own thing there for the moment. To see if we can give it a white kind of a glow around the edge for a minute. I'm not sure that this is charcoal, and that's why it's not moving very well. What does this say? It's a General's product. Not quite doing what I'd hoped it was going to do. So we're going to continue to play a little bit with, a little bit of, you know, at some point you run the risk of ruining the whole thing. And you got to be okay with doing that. That's how you learn stuff, you know? You got to be okay with, I'm not sure I like that. But how would I know if I didn't like it or I did like it if I didn't try it? You know? You got to try stuff. That's the beauty and benefit of art journaling, for one thing. You try it. So what I dipped my blending stump into was odorless paint thinner, which, by the way, is not entirely odorless. So you have to be careful with it. It is still fumey, and so you do have to be careful with it. Okay, let's put a little bit down here. So I'm just picking up just a little bit of it on the tip of my blending stump. Because I'm not sure this is charcoal. I think this may have some wax in it or something, whatever the stick is. Whatever this is, I don't think it's entirely charcoal. If it was, it would just blend right out, but it wasn't doing that. So I put, and it's looking a lot whiter on the camera than it actually is in real life. It's not nearly this white. Okay, but we've done it to one side. Let's do it to the other side because we can. So we're going to put a little bit of white, whatever this white stick is. I have it in the, it's in the thing, but it doesn't really tell me what it is. So there you go. That's why you should label your stuff. Okay. So I'm using my finger first. Well, hi, Braveheart. Hi, kitty boy. Hi, Braveheart. Are you coming in? Are you coming in to see us? Are you? Come here. Come here. Come here, Brave. Okay, Braveheart came to visit. He's the gray and white cat I showed the other night. He's going to let me know that he needs to go out. Pastels could work just fine. Hi, Carol. All right, let me go put him out. Okay, I'll be right back, you guys. Come here, Brave. Come here. Come here, Brave. Come here, Brave. Thank you for your patience. Braveheart is an outdoor kitty. Yes, he is. There we go. He's an outdoor kitty, and he'd been asleep for a long time, so he's like, nope, I gotta go out. Okay, yes. So I'm going to use just a little bit of odorless thinner and kind of blend this a little bit. And then I think we need to give it like a wallpaper sort of design in the background. And I probably will resort just to my big old loopy flowers because it's just my favorite. One of my favorite, you know, we all have our favorite designs, motifs, whatever you want to call them. And loopy flowers are one of mine. And I have used them. I've carved stamps with them. I don't know. It's just one of those things I like. It's like a grade school thing. Okay, so we just have kind of a glow looking around it. And so let's do some loopy flowers. And since I outlined this in sepia to start with, I'm going to do the background wallpaper design in sepia. So let's just do some loopy flowers. Okay, here we go. Let's just start here. And I'm going to let them be light, sketchy, and sort of patterned, but not totally, right? Not totally. So we have that going on. And maybe we'll make one over here. Okay, and then maybe another one here. And then maybe one here. Okay, and then we gotta come back up here and let's see, maybe we'll do one here. So we have that side of our wallpaper done, and now we need to do this side of our wallpaper. So I'm just going to turn it upside down and not really mirror it, just sort of continue the thought. And not too perfect, a little sketchy, a little offbeat. Maybe another one over here. And then maybe one Okay, so we've kind of got our wallpaper-esque background going on. And then how about if we would put in some polka dots? Okay, and then we might have to carry that on a little bit. So it's a complete pattern of some kind. Okay. And then, even though it's in the background, I'm going to take my white pen and I'm going to put a white center into each of these big loopy flowers. Just because it helps tie it together. Okay. And then what I want to do is to finish I'll finish the lace down here at the bottom. And then we're going to call it good. And so that is our, and then I may edge the whole thing with some black or brown ink, because I like my books to be kind of framed a little bit. And then that's our thing. Okay? Yeah, that's our thing. Would pastels work, or would they smear too badly? Did I answer that already? You could do pastels. You're still going to have to fix them. Yeah. You're still going to have to fix it, or they'll keep moving and coming off and doing all that stuff. Yeah. Okay. So there's that. Okay. You guys have any questions about this? Any questions that you want to ask? Or any questions that I did not, that I didn't address, that I didn't catch? So from a distance, that's how it looks from a distance. I kind of like the white glow behind it, actually. Yeah. I do love the stack of cups too. Dorothy says, as usual, it will do till you do something good. Nah, Dorothy. Would blue work in the lace? You mean to make blue pen for the lace? Sure. You can do anything you want. Anything you want. It is your tablecloth. It is your, it's your book. I did the white and black because I like the white and black and gray on the craft paper. And I'm going to show you this book. This is an old book. I mean, old now. It's been around for an age. But this book is one where when the first time I leafed through it, I fell in love with it and ended up having to buy it. Because don't you have to do that? And so this book has I'm trying to get my mouse out of the way. Sorry about all the distracting things on my desk here. Here. Let me just get rid of a bunch of stuff. here. Okay. Almost. There we go. Maybe now you can see just the book, huh? This is, it's an older book. It was published in 2017, so it's 9 years old. And do you have this book, Barbara? Sure, you can, yeah, you can do on white too, absolutely, or in black. This book has some really nice things in it, so I thought I would show those to you. We'd go through it just a little bit. It's by Deborah Velasquez, and that's probably not how you say her name. Velasquez. I do not know her, so therefore I don't know how you say her name. But it starts with, if you took this book and you just work through the basic exercises in this book, you're going to learn a lot. A lot. And she goes through, you know, all of her, I think these are gorgeous. I think these are absolutely gorgeous. I would like to play with that. And that is not hard. But I didn't think of doing it, but I'd like to play with it. And then her birds. Why work in black and white? So here are the things that she works with, the tools that she works with. So you would think black and white, well, that's really easy. But look at the array of things that she has there. Different kinds of pens, brushes, and so forth. So there's a close-up of the different pens. That's a quill pen, another one, calligraphy type pens, paint pens, more paint pens, a brush pen. This is an ink brush pen, a brush marker, pigment liner, Pigma Micron pen. This is a Sharpie ultra fine tip. This is a gel pen, calligraphy marker, and a Sharpie that's a fine tip, but you can see how fat that is. Fine tip and Sharpie is not a very fine tip. So just different ways of doing things with warming up, and different ways to draw things, gesture drawing, drawing, continuous line drawing, drawing with both hands. I mean, just a lot of interesting things that you can learn when doing things like this. I love these. Contour drawing with a continuous line. That means exactly what it says. Put your pen tip down on the paper and draw the thing that you're looking at or thinking about without lifting the pen tip. And you get these really interesting gesture lines and continuous line. This is a blind contour drawing. So on this one, you're putting your pen down and you're actually looking at what you're doing, but you're drawing with the pen on the paper the whole time. This one, you're looking at the thing and you're drawing it without looking at the paper. You're only looking at the thing that you're looking at. So you get these kind of weird, interesting shapes when you finally look at your paper. Continuous line drawings using kitchen utensils. And then everything becomes a little more refined, Just doing line work of plants. Here it is on craft, on black, and on white. Playing with negative space. Different kinds of texture to achieve when you draw. Wrinkled paper, folded paper. Connect the dots. I mean, I'm just going to leaf through it because there are just so many different things that you can learn and be inspired by from this book. I love this. craft paper and just drawing in white or cream. So here she's painted, you know, loosely painted something and then added the white lines on top of it. Look at these big fat birds. I love those. So it's sort of, you know, refining things down to simple shapes. Just very simple shapes. I love this idea. Circles and then adding texture into them. Acrylic ink. Drawing and writing with acrylic ink. Making marks. Make your own papers. And then tear the papers up and make things with torn paper. That's really fun to do. Or painting with scissors, so taking a contrast color and then cutting it into shapes and then making designs with it, making a village, making flowers, or snowflakes, or Christmas trees, or houses. I love this. Making text paper village, text paper buildings. The notebook that I just did, this one, what am I going to use it for? It's a note-taking book for something that I'm doing. Yeah. So it's just for note-taking. And this is, you can make your own stencils, you know, just taking it a step further, make your own stencils out of craft paper or freezer paper. You can use found objects. You can print with them on black, white, and craft. Make stamps. I love to carve my own stamps. And playing with pattern with your own, with stamps, like leftover bits and pieces of stamps. See what you can do with those. What do you see in those leftover bits? You know, turning them into buildings. You can do block printing. And this is where I'm getting into what I just find so inspiring. So using stamps that you've made. The trees are stamps. The buildings are stamps. And just making your own pattern paper. I love this. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. Take a place that maybe you've been or an image that you've seen, and then using simple lines to suggest what the buildings are, or fountains, or other architectural things that you see. I don't know if you guys find this as inspiring as I do. This, I'm going to show you this up close. Look at this feather. Isn't that a cool feather? Or it could be a tree. Either one. Yeah. Thanks, Ellen. And then at the back of this, there's a lot. I have not used any of this, but there are a lot of pieces of paper that in different colors of the brown, gray, black, and so forth that you can use to practice on. I have not used any of those. These papers are kind of shiny. I don't know if you can see that. They're kind of shiny and they're not real heavy. So I don't find, personally, I don't find that working on shiny paper, I don't like it. It's like having shiny walls. Some of the walls in the house here are semi-gloss, or they're not satin. Maybe satin, semi-gloss, I think. Yeah. I don't like totally flat walls. I like eggshell walls. And I like an eggshell finish to work on. Anything that gets really shiny, it tends to be slick. And slick is, I don't like how slick feels under the pen, under a pencil. Things don't want to stick to it. Yeah, you know, so it's not my thing. Anyway. Okay, so there you go. Carol says she's working in the Stillman and Byrne Nova series sketchbook. Has black, gray, and tan. Oh, that's neat. That's neat. It's listed on Amazon for more than $45 right now. This one, look on the second hand. Check out the second hand, the used book section. Try that. $45. Nope. It's not. It's a good book, but I don't think I'd pay that either. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to take off for today. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that you have some fun. Maybe you try some of these ideas. I mean, really, we didn't use a lot of stuff. I was going to also do this. I'll show you this real quick. This, I think, is still available. Well, I think this is available. It's just whether you want to pay for it or not. This other little book, I bought this just because it just, for whatever reason, appealed to me. And so I thought we would play with it. And so maybe that's what we'll do on Monday night. So I'll show it to you. And maybe some of you have seen this before. Normally this kind of thing doesn't really appeal to me. I don't know why it did, but I've had it for a little while and I thought, oh, this would be kind of fun to do. And I thought we might play with some of these, draw some of these cute little beasts in one of my journals, and we could do it together. And, you know, sometimes you just need something that takes your imagination and gives it a kick in the pants. And this is one of those that I think would be kind of fun to play with, and it doesn't matter if they don't turn out right because they're made up anyway, right? This one I find kind of odd. Some of them are a little odd and disturbing. Some of them are really funny, like Rockfella. So doing things, making shapes into rocks and naming them. So I think some of them are really funny. I like that one. I don't know why it's a Plemisar, but anyway, it's a Plemisar. Yeah, so I think it's got some possibilities. So we may do that, may work on that in the journal. On the background that we did a week or so ago, we may draw some beasts on it using this set of these pencils that I have not used yet. These are Stabilo Woodies is what they're called. They are great for kids, and that's what I think what they were engineered for is children, but they're big fat crayon type colored pencil. They're water soluble, and they can be used on glass also. And it says can be used on glass and it's easy to wipe off. That's what it says. So anyway, 3-in-1 multi-talented pencils. Sorry, that was obnoxious. And I got a set of these for my little 4-year-old granddaughter, the one who cut their Christmas present check in half so she could share it with her brother because it was for both of them for Christmas, and so she cut it in half with a pair of scissors, which made me laugh. Anyway, I think we might do that on Monday and see what kind of critters we can draw. They're childlike critters, so let's use a childlike art supply. All right? Okay, you guys, have a great weekend and enjoy it. Enjoy your weekend. If you chose a word for this year, think about your word that you chose and how that is showing up in your life. And I'd be interested in what you have to say about that. And until Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, have a really creative weekend. Be kind to each other. Be kind to random strangers. We all need a little more kindness and joy. And it starts with us. So I will see you Monday night. Thanks for being here. Have a great weekend. Remember to get creative today because you know it's easy. I'll see you before you know it. Bye for now.